Hello and welcome back to Speaking and Presenting in English. We are in week 5 and today we are doing unit 5. This vacation will be exciting, and as you can see in the picture, we're talking about travel and vacations. So let's jump right in and start with some vocabulary. This page from your textbook has the vocabulary that we'll need for this unit. You see some travel-related vocabulary, some documents you might need, like a visa or a ticket, a plane ticket, your passport, of course. Sometimes trips get canceled, especially with coronavirus. Many people canceled their travel plans. Other useful words here are layover. That is when you stop in one city on your way to another one. For example, when I went to the US, I flew from Incheon to Chicago, but I had a layover in Seattle. Backpack, that is a type of travel. Usually younger people put all of their things in a big backpack and carry it around instead of a suitcase. Usually backpackers are budget travelers trying not to spend too much money. In the next column, you've got some places you might stay or go while traveling. Stay in a hotel, for example, and you might visit an amusement park or museum. You might also hike or go on a zip line or try bungee jumping. The next section is vocabulary related to tours. Package tour is a very common tour in Korea where the company arranges everything for you and you just follow along. Inclusive tour includes everything, so you don't pay for each thing separately. You pay one big price for everything. You might have an independent tour where you are free to look around and do your own thing. And of course, escorted business tour, eco tour, where you're in nature and looking around at the environment and enjoying the environment and trying to be careful not to harm the environment. We've got a few other ones like an African safari tour, etc. And down below we do have a few sentence patterns. So this vacation will be exciting. We will spend one day at, and then you can put in the place where you will be. So we will spend one day at an amusement park or at a museum, or we will spend one day zip lining or bungee jumping. Number 2, I want this vacation to be different. So different from previous vacations. So I will take an eco tour or a battlefield tour or an African safari tour. Number 3, what are the advantages and disadvantages of? And then it gives us some examples of an independent tour, escorted tour, inclusive tour, adventure, vacation. There's a lot of vocabulary here. You don't need to remember everything. I think the most important thing is to remember and know how to use the words that are useful for you. So if you really like to backpack, make sure you know how to talk about that, how to use backpack in a sentence. Right? If you are into package tours, make sure you can talk about package tour and use vocabulary related to package tours. That's the most important thing for the vocabulary. So we'll stop there for vocab and move into our dialogue. Okay, here we have a short conversation. So you've got Yoon and Gina talking. And Yoon says, "Are you ready for hiking season?" Gina says, "Oh yes, the weather's getting cooler. Where do you want to go this year?" Yoon says, "We went to Seoul and Daejeon last year. Let's go to Gimcheon this year and walk around Jikjisa." Gina says, "That'll be good. It's very pretty there and not too difficult." Yoon asks, "Do they have a temple stay there?" Gina says, "I don't know. We can check online later." "Even if they don't, I still want to go. How far is it?" Yoon asks. Gina says it's about 50 minutes on the train. Then she asks, "Should we take the boyfriends? Should we take our boyfriends?" Yoon says, "Oh yes, they're going. I told my boyfriend that I'm going with a boyfriend. Then I asked him, is it going to be you or should I start looking for a new one?" So that is Yoon's way of telling her boyfriend, "You're going. I'm going with a boyfriend. Will it be you or do I need to find a new one?" Gina's surprised and says, "Wow, what did he say?" And finally, Yoon says, "Nothing. He got off the sofa and went out and bought some hiking gear." So Yoon's boyfriend is definitely going hiking. Okay. Temple stay, if you don't know what that is, it's where visitors can go to a temple and spend the night there. They can sleep inside the temple and have temple food and wake up early like the monks do. All right, we have some comprehension questions about this activity, and we'll go through these one at a time. So number 1, where will Gina and Yoon go hiking this year? See, last year they went to Seoul and Daejeon, and this year it says let's go to Gimcheon and walk around Jikjisa. So where are they going? They'll go to Jikjisa. Number 2, how far is it on the train? Yoon asks, how far is it? And Gina says, about 50 minutes. So it is 50 minutes. Number 3, what will they check online? Yoon asked, do they have a temple stay there? And Gina said, I don't know. We can check online later. So what are they going to check? They'll check if there's a temple stay. And finally, number 4, what did one boyfriend do when told about hiking? So in this question, we're asking, what did Yoon's boyfriend do when Yoon told him about hiking? And that was at the very end. What did he say? Nothing. He didn't say anything, but he got off the sofa and he went out and bought some hiking gear. So you can say he bought some hiking gear. Okay, in this slide we have some discussion questions. So we have number 1, do you or your family go hiking? So this is just a yes or no question. Do you go hiking? Do you and your family go hiking? And in my case, yes. We go hiking a couple of times per month. A couple of times per month. So maybe 2 times per month. We go hiking 2 times or twice a month. Number 2, where do you usually go hiking? As you know, I live in Daegu, so we usually go to Palgong Mountain, Palgongsan. It's not far from my apartment. Number 3, who do you usually go hiking with? I usually go with my family, but sometimes I go alone when I need some quiet time. Sometimes I'll go alone. Number 4, what things do you look for in a good hiking place? Well, I like quiet places that aren't too steep. If it's steep, it's very hard to hike up the mountain. So I like places that are a little bit easier to hike. And I also like water. It's very pretty to look at water. So I like mountains that are near rivers. Finally, number 5, what activities do you usually do? I listen to music. And after I hike, I like to drink some makgeolli and have some pajan. That's how I like to end my hiking days. How about you? Where do you hike? Who do you go with? And what do you like to do when you hike? Okay, here we have a few more discussion questions. This is about your travel experience, a time that you traveled. And you'll notice that the first 2 questions are asking about the past, so you need to use past tense. Number 3 is using the usually, so that one you're going to use the present tense. And then the last one, where do you want to go? So you're going to use want plus verb. Want to, I want to go to, for example, or I want to visit, for example. So let's start with number 1. Have you traveled with your university or high school friends? In my case, yes, I took a graduation trip with my high school friends. Number 2, where did you go and when did you go? As an example, say we stayed at a pension in Gangwon-do in February. So last February, so a couple of months ago, we went to Gangwon-do and we stayed at a pension. Number 3, how do you usually travel and stay? So this is about your travel style. Do you stay? Are you a luxury traveler or are you a budget traveler? In my case, I'm a budget traveler. But when I travel with my family, we go on package tours and we stay in nice hotels. But when I travel with my friends, we usually backpack and we stay in hostels to save money. So again, that's about style, your travel style. What kind of traveler are you? And finally, what other places do you and your friends want to visit? We really want to backpack around Europe this summer. That's something we would really like to do. Go to Europe and backpack around Europe. So those are my example answers for these discussion questions. What about you? Have you traveled with your high school friends? Where did you go and when did you go? And what type of traveler are you? Are you a budget traveler or a luxury traveler? And what places would you and your friends like to visit? Now we'll move along to the presentation part of the class, and you're going to talk about a trip that you took. And you're going to use PowerPoint for this presentation. And I have made a PowerPoint presentation within this presentation, and that'll be coming up soon, and I'll show you. I'll do a sample presentation for you so you can see how to do it. You're gonna want to include some pictures for this. Okay, before you start making your PowerPoint, you should use this little chart here in the presentation practice activity to help you think about your trip. So where did you go? When did you go? How was it? Who did you go with? What did you do on your trip? How long was your trip? So fill in answers to those questions so that you have lots of material to work with when you write your presentation. And on the next slide, I'll show you some example answers to those questions. Okay, here is my mind map from my presentation for my trip to Singapore. So you can see how I filled in the answers here. I went where? To Singapore. How did I get there? I took an airplane, and I went with my family. We stayed in a resort and went to the zoo and aquarium. We went shopping and we ate good food. How long? Our trip was a week. And when did we go? We went last February. So again, just short answers to help you organize your thoughts before you start writing. To the right here, you see some useful expressions. So how to introduce your topic? I'm going to tell you about my trip to. We stayed in place for how long? We stayed in Singapore for 1 week. There are many things to do in the place. Singapore, for example. We stayed in a hotel, a hostel, a luxury hotel. You can fill in your answer there. And then blank loved A and B. So, for example, my wife loved the aquarium and the shopping malls. Some other useful expressions: be happy that. Be happy that. So he was happy that there were so many great places to visit. Be impressed with. I was impressed with how clean Singapore was, for example. And finally, a way to end your presentation: I had an amazing time in Singapore, and I hope we can go back again someday. So again, you don't have to use all of these expressions, but they will help you write your script for your presentation. And now we'll go ahead and I will do my presentation, an example for you. And remember, your presentation this time should be a PPT. So really study my PPT and my presentation and see how I chose pictures to go along with each point and how I recorded my voice to talk about each slide. So let's do it. Hello everyone. Today I'm going to tell you about my trip to Singapore. I went to Singapore with my family last February. We flew there from Incheon. We stayed in Singapore for about 1 week. There are many things to do in Singapore. We stayed in a nice resort and swam in the pool every day. My sister and I loved the zoo and aquarium. My dad loves to shop, so he was happy that there were so many great shopping malls in Singapore. My mom loves to eat, so she was impressed with all the great restaurants. I had an amazing time in Singapore, and I hope we can go back again someday. Thank you. Okay, so you can see from my little mini presentation how I picked pictures to go along with each of my points in my presentation. So you should do the same thing when you make your PPT and record your presentation. All right, so next steps. Leave a short comment below, as always. Go ahead and read Unit 5 in your book. Again, Canvas, Files, Unit 5. You will find the pages that you need. Then use the mind map in your book on page 45. Fill that out, and then you can write your script about your trip. And also go back to this presentation. Use my slides 7 to 11 to help you. And record your PPT with audio and send it to me. I think email will work best for this. If you can do it on Kakao, that's fine. But if not, please email it to me. And my email address is at the bottom here, bjallen1979 @gmail.com. And I look forward to hearing about your trips and seeing some pictures. So we'll leave that there for today. Thank you very much.